Welcome back. We are having so much fun with this topic on how to really mess up your marriage. So,
how to ruin your
yes,
relationship.
ruin your relationships.
Wait. So the question for this podcast is, who are the people in your life that are collaborating with you to ruin your relationship? Who are the people
Hardest people for you to deal with.
that are conspiring with you
See, I like this.
to hurt your relationship?
So, okay, ladies, we need to have a talk. We just need to talk for a minute. This is something that I see so many women do. I don't know if men do this as much, but I know women do it, and I've seen it. And it was something that I vowed to myself when we got together, before we got married, that I would never do. And I actually started this before that, but because I saw so many marriages ruined over this, and people just becoming miserable. When you have a problem, and this is funny, this is something my mom taught me as well. When I got married, my mom said, do not come to me and complain about your marriage. And I was like, what? She goes, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your problems in your marriage. And I was like, wow, that was harsh. But she was right. And I love that. And here's why. She's like, if he's beating you, then come to me. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it. And I really appreciate that now. I didn't really understand it then. But here was the thing. She was not going to be the meddling mother-in-law, number one, which I really appreciate, and I'm sure you do. But the other thing is, I see women do this. They get together. We're the, gatherers, men are the hunters, but we get together in this little gathering group, and we just start yip about all of our problems. And the minute you start doing that, you will find the thing that is wrong, and your brain will begin to spin on it. And I really don't like that. I promised myself I would not do that. And I told myself that if you and I had problems, I'd never go to my girlfriends and start doing that. And I had one friend that would look for those problems, and she's no longer my friend. She's no longer my friend. The friends that I have that I go to are friends who tell me, oh, I'll pray with you, but that's not how you handle this. I mean, they'll actually hold me accountable. Those are the kinds of friends you want. You want to ruin your relationship? You want to mess up your marriage? Have a bunch of girlfriends who actually have some interest in you having problems because they want to go out with you, because they are not happy themselves, because whatever reason. That is how you mess up your marriage fast.
That's like worth the whole podcast. You did that in 2.5 minutes. I'm so proud of you.
I've just seen it too many times.
Who you hang out with. You become like the people you hang out with. And if you're spending time with people who are unhappy in their relationships, they will actually tend to magnify the unhappiness you might have and make you second guess yourself.
Yep.
Hanging out with people who ask the question, what is it you can do better?
Yep.
Will help you so much, because
and when a friend prays
people are
with you,
contagious.
When friends pray with you, what they're in essence doing is spinning it in a positive way. They're looking for what's good. They're looking for how you can fix it, and that's really important.
And often when you confide into your friends or coworkers on how awful your partner is, they're not getting
the full story.
The full story.
No.
And so they're giving you advice based on your skewed presentation of what's going on. And
even if you believe it 100%, right? Perception is reality. It's only your perception. It's not both sides.
And so, I often say bonding, because we're talking about relationships, require two things. It requires time, actual physical time, and a willingness and skill in listening. So if you want to ruin your relationship, don't spend any time with your partner, be a workaholic, and don't listen. When they say something, talk over them. And as soon as something comes out of their mouth, you feel like you have to dominate the conversation and tell them your 2 cents rather than really trying to understand what they're saying. And that's hard for a lot of people in this society of noise. If you think of CNN and Fox and there's really not a good model.
Well, and some of us grew up not feeling listened to. And so sometimes that's the motivation. We feel like we're not being listened to. So we have to be, and that actually you've been really good at helping me with that. I also worked in a trauma unit where it was like chaotic and you had to sort of like speak up, and it's a personality trait. But that really, you helping me with that, especially with my daughter, has helped with all of my relationships. Learning to just shut up, bite my tongue. It's not always easy.
And I want you to communicate clearly, but what's really important, maybe even more important, is really understanding your partner. And that requires hearing him or her out and then repeating back what you hear to make sure you're clear. Too often, people sit on a lot of pain, and when that pain gets poked, we overreact, and you're dealing with the pain, not the person.
Right. I like that. Another thing, this thing, the phone, social media, it's a problem. So you need to be aware of what you are focusing on when you're with your partner. Presence is a really important thing. And I know we're busy. I know even in our situation, we have business to run. Life is busy. Life is, intense, but at least dedicate a certain amount of time. If that is you and you're busy like that and you have a lot that you must attend to, I know a lot of doctors and surgeons and things like that, they are married to that phone because they are on call all the time. But at least dedicate a certain amount of time with the exception of emergencies or whatever, that you're not going to be on your phone because it feels to the other person like they don't have your full attention. At least for me, I'll get up and walk away. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to compete with it. I call it the mistress. So I won't compete with it. It's like either I'm important enough for you to focus on while we're together during this time, or I have other things I can be doing. And so it's just a really important thing. Think about what you're doing. It's a hard thing. It's become this addiction in our society, and it's created for that reason. So just pay attention to it. Just know that's why it was created. It's why it's the way it is, and try to be aware of it.
And it's good to develop rituals. So if you want to ruin your relationships, have no time rituals. So
I love our mornings.
I make you coffee.
And we sit together, and I love
not
it.
Coffee. I make you your...
a quarter calf cappuccino.
Cappuccino that's on TanaAmen.com. What's it called?
It's
pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Cappuccino. And Tana has manipulated me to thinking that only I can make it the way I do.
Only he can make it and have it taste that good.
Nonsense,
no, it's amazing.
Having folklore.
And he'll often say, "That's okay." Here's another tip. Here's another tip. If you nitpick at things with your partner, I think that focusing on little things that aren't that not necessarily that important. And if they're important to you, bring them up in a positive way. But you'll often, because we are so busy, you'll often say to me, "Did I tell you I love you today?" Which is a really sweet thing. And sometimes you didn't because we're busy. We jump out of bed, we're running, we're like whatever. But rather than going, "No, you didn't," I'll stop for a minute and I'll think, and usually it's, "You made my coffee this morning. You showed me. You didn't, So
it's a ritual that we have, whether it's, 20 minutes in the morning, we just sit and talk about our days and what's going on. And we love it when our teenage daughter joins us. But that's a ritual.
Right.
And then we have time over the weekend to spend together.
Right. And being aware that those actions for me, they equate to you telling me you love me. And I don't need to nitpick at you because you didn't say it.
Yeah, nitpicking is generally not helpful.
No.
If you're doing that, you have to ask yourself, what's the goal? I mean, if the goal is to torture the other person, then go for it, right?
But
if it's conscious, or if it's what your mom and dad used to do and you're just replicating that goal, you want to stop it.
But there also might be a different reason. There may be something else you're actually trying to achieve, and there's probably a better way to do it, and you're just not aware that that's what you're doing. So pay attention.
So who are you hanging out with that is collaborating with you to ruin your relationship? You might want to rethink that relationship or that time.
I like what you said in the last episode.
Don't post their name.
No, don't post their name. Please don't. We don't need, no, we're not starting a war. I like what you said in the last episode when you said you need to know your goal right? You need to know your goal, and that's how you base your actions on that goal. Like, you want to have a good marriage, and so is what I'm doing getting me what I want? And that's why I said in the beginning of the episode, I had a friend who was constantly looking for the negative because that friend was miserable in her marriage. She wanted me to spend more time with her. So she would find something negative about you, or that friend is no longer my friend. And that's why, because I know my goal. And so know your goal. Are the friends you're hanging out with, not just your actions, are the people you're hanging out with helping you achieve that goal? It's really important.
So, what's the single most important thing you learned from this podcast? We would love for you to post it on your social media. And tag us, Brain Warriors Way Podcast. We would just be so grateful. Leave us a review.
You can also tag us.
BrainWarriorsWayPodcast.com. And if you have a question, leave it there, because we're going to spend some episodes coming up just answering your question.
And you can tag us personally as well. Tana Amen or Doc Amen. Just tag us and let us know. We want to hear from you.
We'll be back, and we're going to talk about the spiritual ways you mess up your relationships. Stay with us.
If you're enjoying the Brain Warriors Way podcast, please don't forget to subscribe so you'll always know when there's a new episode. And while you're at it, feel free to give us a review or 5-star rating, as that helps others find the podcast.
If you're interested in coming to Amen Clinics, use the code PODCAST10 to get a 10% discount on a full evaluation at amenclinics.com. For more information, give us a call at 855-978-1363.